Man, I know, like, come on, man. This is all the instrumentation. This is about to be fire. Yeah, that was the part that was sampled. No matter what you do, and I hope you understand me. Let me in. Oh, it does. I think it's true. I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry, but there is nothing like soul, like some good soul music from like the 70s. That old school soul, in my opinion, is one of, if not the best genres of music ever created. I almost feel like that's the pinnacle of music. You had like, you know, what, like Beethoven, Mozart, all that. Then you go up and then, you know, for like the 1800s, you got like blues music, whatever the hell they were singing, I don't know. Then you got like rock and roll, blah, 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 blase, blase, and then you got soul music. And in my opinion, that was like peak evolution of music. And then shit kind of devolved a little bit, if you get what I'm saying. I'm not saying there's no genres of music afterwards that aren't great, but soul music, in my opinion, is probably the best. I mean, come on.
You're sick with the seat.
Trying to be more of a man for you. See it through, so I love you.
The structure of the song, I feel like it's very rare for me to hear, like, soul music doesn't get very formulaic. You know, a lot of songs, whether it be pop music, hip hop, whatever the case, like, you do a lot of R&B, it's very formulaic, but that's not always a bad thing. It's like you got an intro, a chorus, a verse, chorus again, maybe you have another verse, and then the chorus repeats twice, and then plays out. That's usually like the formula. But with this, you know, like this song, for example, you have so many different elements. You have so many different bridges and verses and choruses, but there's just so many unique parts. And I just feel like that you never get bored listening to this type of music. There's never a formula with it. It's very authentic. You know what I mean?
I'm not too loud for you, am I? Okay. Good night.
I should get rid of their leader. I'd encourage the rest to leave.
I just can't get an answer. And then I went to our house and I saw a car parked in the driveway. I knocked on the door, but still I knocked when I answered. And then I went home and I watched television until television went off. And then I played my record until I just didn't want to hear them anymore. And finally I went to bed and I found myself waking up a few hours later. And the tears were running down my face. And my friend told me, he said, Lenny, you just ought to forget about it.
Never came there. Ship the machine gun equipment shotgun, huh?
Not that easy.
And maybe you never felt the things that I felt. But this is what I told my friend. I said that, you know, sometimes
You get lonely. You get lonely. You get lonely. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. And I cry. I cry.
Whoever did this,
If you are
find you.
in the wells of my eyes, oh baby. And then I met you. It got so bad. Until one time I started throwing myself up in a big old ball and died. And then I met you, darling. And you smiled at me. Oh, it was such a pretty smile. Yes, it was.
Check your tags.
real talk. She said that, man.
You think you could get away with this?
It's a long version, man. It's a long version. Jay Marie asked if I know anything about. Now, here we go, y'all.
Stand up. Get this over with.
Watch the ball players. Look at the ball players, y'all. Hey, here we go.
close. Hostile!
You feel it?
Do something! Another one down! She's here!
You picked the wrong place to attack.
These rebels won't be bothering anyone else.
Until I had to go to one of my friends and talk to him. And I told him and it got so bad. But you know, I found that so many folks are ashamed to say that they cried behind the one they love. But you know, I found, and I don't have much riches. Woo! Girl, you know I love you. And then I went to our house and I saw a car parked in the driveway. I knocked on the door, but still my knocks went unanswered. And then I went home and I watched television until television went off. And then I played my records until I just didn't want to hear them anymore. And finally I went to bed, but I found myself waking up a few hours later. And the tears were running down my face. And my friend told me, he said, Lenny, you ought to forget about her. And you ought to find you somebody else. But you know, your friends can give you the wrong advice sometimes. And I told my friend, I said, maybe you've never been in love like I've been in love. And maybe you've never felt the things that I felt. But this is what I told my friend. I said, you know, sometimes you get lonely. You get lonely. You get lonely. You get lonely. And I cry. I cry. Oh, 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 yeah. You see, baby? And then it got so bad. But you know, I found that so many folks are ashamed to say that they cried behind the one they love. But you know, I found out that love is a very strange thing. Sometimes love only comes once in a lifetime. And if you find yourself losing it, if it takes crying to keep it, then go ahead and cry. And if there's anybody here that ever cried behind the one you love and you're not ashamed, I want to hear you say, yeah! And then it got
she fucked up the whole refrigerator situation.
I didn't.
Well,
I didn't.
well, I'm starting to question who was actually at fault in the refrigerator debacle.
Yeah.
Because we heard that, she claimed that Robert gave the dimensions wrong. But she was in charge of buying the refrigerator, and it was wrong, remember?
Yeah, oh yeah.
But she'll put all the blame on Robert.
Yep, count her down.
Well, guess what happened again?
We ain't done yet. It's time for the P1 podcast.
Fun's not over yet.
Completely uncensored and unfiltered, except for that part. Looking for the after party with the show's after show starts now.
So yeah, fun fact. Emily is going through a remodel right now.
Super fun fact.
Yeah.
So fun.
Kitchen's done though, right?
Kitchen's done. Living room is done
Really?
for the most part, but we're still decorating. So like the floor's done and the walls are done.
Did you take down that weird deck clean?
We did. Oh yeah, that's been gone for a while.
I saw it in person, live in person.
So lucky.
And I'll tell you what, I'm being dead serious. I was blown away how much better it looks.
Oh.
And Robert did such a good job.
Aw.
Outside and inside too, because the outside was painted and it looks phenomenal.
Wow.
I can't believe how good of a job Robert did.
He did a great job.
What do you mean that's
He
fine?
did a wonderful job.
Why can't you just
He did a great job with the stuff that he did, and then he.
Anyways, now we got to part of the good part. Which one is Ludwig Kaiser? Was he Marcel or Fabian?
I wasn't sure. I was actually hoping you would know, because the other day on NXT, to recap, and it's hard to remember all this, even though it was less than a week ago as we were recording. One of the Imperium members turned on the other one, and then Walter lost to Ron Breaker. And I thought that other guy, okay, now he's out of Imperium. Now it's going to be Walter and the other heel guy that turned on him. Nope, that guy's with Walter now. I don't know what happened to the other guy.
Wait a minute, what a turn on him. Alright. Anywho, Ludwig Kaiser, who is either Fabian or Marcel, in a previous existence on the other brand on the same network. No, this is SmackDown. They're on a different network. He's in a spotlight and he introduces the man who is the epitome of efficiency and elegance. That sounds like the big build for fucking Liberace, doesn't it?
Efficiency and elegance, I guess so, yeah.
The epitome of efficiency and elegance. And then he did it in German too, and out comes, of course it's Walter, they're calling him Gunther, but not the fans that are chanting Walter.
McAfee tried to cover up for that. Did you hear that? He goes, they're chanting Gunther! No, they're
Yeah, no,
clearly
they're not. They're
chanting Walter.
chanting, there's no L in Gunther. So what foolishness, I'm thinking, and here comes Walter in a giant red overcoat that looked like, it looked like the same style that Mary Tyler Moore would wear in the early 60s Dick Van Dyke show, with the big buttons on the front and everything. It's a Halston. Is it supposed to be reminiscent somehow of a military type uniform, or what?
Yes, Stalin-esque.
But anyway, and the other fella, old Ludwig, they should have just called him Ludwig Borga. That would have got some heat somewhere. He's a tracksuit still, kind of, right? It's this matching colors, but he's in a... So I don't know what their deal is, but he still looks badass. Even if they change his name, they put him in fucking Rosemary's fashions, whatever, he still looks badass. And they showed B-roll of his action highlights, and then this was exactly what should be done. They matched him up on his first appearance on SmackDown with the up-and-comer Joe Alonzo. Brian, did you see any of Joe Alonzo's previous matches?
I've never heard of him before, never saw him before.
Exactly. Probably not going to see him again because he's a backdrop to show us what Walter does. And that's what he did. He swarmed this guy. He was aggressive. He mauled him. He manhandled him. There was different types of offense that you see from, all the rest of the guys, and he bullied him some. and he hit a few of those hard chops, and he power bombed him, and he stacked him up and beat him. 1, 2, 3. Perfect. That's exactly what he should have done his first time on television. You showcase a guy's strengths. You fucking show the people what he can do. You make him look dominant and impressive. And you put into people's mind, well, I wonder how good he's going to be when he gets in the ring with so-and-so that I like. You don't have him come out and have a fucking 10-minute competitive match with a guy that's been on the television program repeatedly before and lost repeatedly, or was competitive repeatedly with fucking middle card guys, because then the people mentally have pigeonholed them. And then they gauge how they take the newcomer by how he interacts with the people that they're familiar with. This is not brain science. And Walter's got great patience.
It is something though, seeing the weight loss. Someone posted the other day, I saw on social media, again, before and after, of him, whatever, a year ago, year and a half ago, and him now. And it is remarkable, and it is something seeing him in his new physical shape on that show, which looks different than NXT or any of the indies he was working for. I wonder if he would be more effective if he still had some of that weight on him right now. And I also wonder about his gut health.
Well, I tell you what, I don't know for sure, and he reminds me of Killer Kowalski. I was about to say that before you even took the left turn, because Killer Kowalski, now Walter, was a pudgy fellow, still aggressive and big and fearsome looking, but he was pudgy, whereas Kowalski earlier in his career was a bodybuilder with a physique like Tarzan. But then Kowalski went through a period where he decided to change his ways, change his eating habits, change his diet, and so did Walter in order to drop some weight and be healthier. And you may not be, folks out there, 6'7" like Killer Kowalski, or 6'5" like Walter, or 300 pounds to start out with, but gut health is important, as you mentioned, young Brian last. You thought I'd never get back to that. Gut health is important, especially determining your prebiotics and your probiotics and your proprietary formulations, because they scientifically study the dosages of these things, and if you're out of sync and out of whack with your probiotics through your prebiotics into your postbiotics and the digestive tract of the bloating and the regularity, you're all screwed up. So how can you get this all back in sync? It's simple. You start with a little seed. That's right, folks, not a seed you plant, but a seed that you visit, seed.com. Because seed.com is a probiotic, a daily symbiotic with a broad spectrum 2-in-1 probiotic and prebiotic. So as we've mentioned before many times on the program, you get your pre and your pro with one dose. It's a proprietary formulation of 24 distinct probiotics. That's not that they stink, they're distinct probiotic strains in scientifically studied dosages. And you ought to see these doctors they've got studying this stuff. They put the little thing in their eye like a jeweler, and they look at all those amoebas and all those microscopic organisms, and they figure out what gets through your digestive tract to ensure delivery to your colon. Because a good colon delivery, at least a couple times a week, will help keep everybody in the house in a good mood. It's a proprietary engineered 2-in-1 capsule that protects the probiotics through the digestion to ensure delivery to the colon. Now, folks, if you, like all of us, if you've taken your probiotics before and you never felt a difference, it's simply because you weren't getting the delivery to your colon. That probiotic was falling out somewhere along the way. Whether it may be for a place that was left open accidentally in your last surgery or just an open orifice, it wasn't going all the way to your colon. Well, the daily symbiotic from Seed is designed differently, and that's why it gets all the way into your colon. Over and over and over again. And it supports benefits in and beyond the gut. All the way up to your throat sometimes. And that whole thing is connected there. You know, when you think about it, your mouth is really connected to your asshole. What? And there's just a few things in between, but it's pretty much a straight route. So Seed will support ease of bloating, healthy regularity, and ease of evacuation.
There may be some twists and turns.
Well, there's twists and turns in everything, but it's the same highway. It's
Oh. All right, back to the highway.
Yeah, but it supports this highway, folks, from one to the other, and boy, it's easier to go one way on this highway than it is to go the other way. Although, if you tried, I guess you could go all the way down and back, but we don't recommend that return trip. Our part of it is unimproved highway. It'll also support your gut barrier, skin health, heart health, and micronutrient synthesis is what this will do for you, this daily symbiotic from Seed. Hey, if you don't believe me, and who would doubt my word after this, then all you got to do is go to seed.com, that's SEED.com/drive, and use the code DRIVE to get 20% off your first month of Seed's Daily Symbiotic. You can start a new healthy habit today. That's right, seed.com/drive. Use the code DRIVE. Now, of course, on that highway, we're talking about driving all the way down, but once again, at your own risk, drive all the way back.
That's not how we're ending this. Seed, try Seed, ladies and gentlemen. They're a great sponsor.
Yes.
They're obviously good people.
And also, they give you the tube marked germs that you can.
Not germs, bacteria.
Bacteria, that's
germs.
You've got a tube that's labeled bacteria, and I wanna take that on a commercial plane so bad and hold it up and go, all right, it's gonna go this way.
Ladies and gentlemen, check out Seed. Let them know where you heard about them.
Don't let them know everything. We told you to buy their shit. You'll get 20% off if you do.
That's right. What was the link again?
Seed.com/drive and use the code DRIVE. What about Lacey Evans? Remember the Southern Belle with the parasol and the attitude? Well, she was a phony all along.
You know why she's back, right?
I have no earthly clue.
Do you remember what happened, why she left?
I do. I have no earthly clue.
They were going to do the angle with her and Flair, remember?
And Charlotte was unhappy about that, but Flair was siding with Lacey.
And then she got pregnant. That's why she's back. Ric Flair, child support.
No, come on. Quit. I thought you were going somewhere with that.
That should be the angle because everyone will believe it. I'm back now because I ended up having a child with Ric Flair and I can't get any money out of it.
Now, again, is it the same person? Lacey Evans was the Southern Belle. She was bitchy, she was heelish, she would walk out to an entrance and then turn around and leave just so people could see what a glorious flower of Southern femininity that she was. And now, apropos of nothing, but she's been gone for a year because she got pregnant, had a baby, or did she really in real life get pregnant?
I believe so.
Okay.
I believe so.
But now she just shows up and they've stood her up against a background and told her to tell her sympathetic life story. Okay, go.
with music and crowd noise behind her.
Yes. This was I'm not knocking her story. I'm knocking the presentation of Sane. Why did they do that? And besides the fact that they overlooked that story beforehand to go with Lacey Evans and her parasol twirling around and making entrances for no reason. Okay, that's one decision they could possibly rethink at a later date. But now if they're going to do it, why not work her back into this with an update on former WWE superstar Lacey Evans? Or better yet, maybe don't even remind people that she was here doing all this shit before. Here's Lacey Evans. What an incredible story. She's training to come back after having a baby, but her life has been full of challenges. And do a package. Have somebody narrate it. The only thing worse than having, in some cases, a talent come out and tell how great they are if you're trying to make them a baby face. Would they have to tell how great they are rather than somebody else talking great about them? The only thing worse than that is when they are put in the position of having to tell their own sad story that you're supposed to feel sorry for them about, instead of them commenting on the story that someone else is telling. Do you see the difference, Brian?
I do.
If you're watching a documentary on somebody that's had a hard life or tragic circumstances or whatever, if there's someone relating this story and then you get comments from that person, you don't get the feeling that that person is on purpose trying to play on your sympathies by telling this tale of sorrow and woe. When they just stand a talent that is not obviously the greatest public speaker in the world, she may have been sincere, but that would be a hard story to tell under any circumstances, and now they're just saying, here, stand up here like you're at a police lineup and tell it. That's ridiculous. And it contradicts everything that we've known about this person so far on this television program, and we got it sprung at us in 1 2-minute segment. A deprived childhood, addictive father, sad stories all around, but she was in the Marines and she's a mother, and it's almost at some point she partnered with Wally Amos in the famous Amos Cookies empire. It was everything, right, in 2 minutes. They could have taken 3 or 4 weeks to do a 1-minute little piece on her each week as she trains to get back in the ring, and it would have been more natural. And also, I mean, do you see what this came off see-through, like somebody has told her to tell this story as a marketing strategy, did it not?
She seemed very sincere. Like you said, the way it was done was weird. Having music in the background, having the crowd noise, the background. So obviously this would
What
be...
more can there be? And then she was kidnapped and taken away to live with the monks in Tibet.
Well, she didn't go into her military career then.
Well, boy, I hope that they give her a better location to do it than standing there like she's being interrogated in a military tribunal.
And if this is an option, put Rhonda in front of a background.
Well, boy. You know, do you remember Chili Willy?
I do remember Chili Willy, yeah.
What was his real name? It was Will something.
I can find out, but I don't know off the top of my head.
Well, the point is, he start in ECW, and then they signed him briefly to developmental, or did he go to ECW after he was briefly in the OVW? Which came first, chicken or the egg?
I thought he was in ECW first, but let me look it up here.
I think he was.
William Jones is Chili Willy, and he started in... He was actually one of the guys in Matt and Jeff Hardy's Omega promotion, and then he went to ECW. And then from there, he went to OVW in 2004.
Well, the reason I bring him up is because he was, and I forget the exact details and particulars, and you could probably find it on Wikipedia or whatever, but he was a legitimate war hero. And he had been not only wounded, but other people were killed. There was a big, situation, right? And when they signed him to developmental, they sent him to OVW, and they wanted to use him obviously as a baby face, and they wanted to acknowledge and tell the story of his military service, and then how he wanted to get into wrestling, and here he is now. And I mean, that would make him a big baby face because of the circumstances behind his story. And he could tell it to you. I sat with him in the office, me and him and Danny Davis one day, and he told us this story, and it was incredible. And if you were in a 2 or 3 person group, or the camera wasn't on, or whatever the case, he could tell you this story, but he couldn't tell it on television. And we tried, and I interviewed him. One of my talents, I don't think anybody's disputed, was being able to, with younger, greener guys, do a little fill when they got stuck, or maybe say a word that would prompt them or keep them on track or whatever, just from the amount of interviews I've done.
Almost sunset.
And I knew his story. It didn't work. He would just stop, or he couldn't. And I mean, I know this obviously is a hard thing to talk about, but since this was as Jim Ross would say, the thing to hang your hat on about Chili Willy, and the reason why that they had signed him and put him together, we're going to give him this gimmick, and he couldn't tell the story. It was awkward, obviously, because it was awkward for him, because he wasn't a person that, if he hadn't gone to the military or got into wrestling, he wasn't going to go into a job with public speaking. That had not been a thing. So it's sometimes hard. These are true stories and real stories, and they would get this person over, but it's often better when somebody else tells it. Point I'm making.
As I said before, she's better telling her story than Rhonda is at telling hers.
Well, but see, that's not Rhonda's real story, really. Right? Rhonda's trying to mix in a few things that her mother taught her or whatever, and probably, I'm sure she's mentioned them to the writers or whatever, but she's trying to do the writer shit, and they're trying to put a mother's advice in as part of the gimmick. This is a real story. When you have to get on TV and say, well, my father was an alcoholic, and I was broke and penniless, and then something else happened, whatever the fucking case, right?
Yeah, really. Can't use that in a feud with Charlotte Flair.
Well, now, I'm not saying that this would be about Ronda Rousey. I'm saying when you have to tell one of these stories, like that Lacey Evans was telling, my father's an alcoholic, or at Jewel. I just saw a thing on the internet.
I just saw that.
Canadian Jewel, that she, I wasn't a homeless, penniless sleeping in my car. I was sleeping in my car because I wouldn't fuck the record company executive. Well, but still, when you're saying you had to sleep in your car, you had your alcoholic father, or you were broke and penniless and having to beg on the streets for food like an animal or whatever, if that's a true, or you were blown up in combat, that's not an easy story to tell on national television. So, sometimes it's better to present these true stories in a different way to cast the person that you're talking about in the light that you want them cast in. Hello again, everybody, and welcome to another exciting but quarantined edition of the Jim Cornette Experience. Today, Stalkers, Stories, and SummerSlam Memories. We're going to have a SummerSlam 93 watch-along doubleheader. We'll talk about this week in NXT, the Tennessee stud Ron Fuller is our special guest, and so much more. And joining me, Hawaiian Brian, my podcasting lion, the king of the Arcadian Vanguard podcast.
Hi, big boy.
Mr. Co-host to you. He's live from the rolling pastures of New Jersey, where the polo ponies roam free. Your friend and apparently mine, the great Brian Last.
Aloha, Jim. maybe I should say. I got a lot of lion talk on this week's episode.
There's going to be some lion talk later on with there will be no lion about, with our special guest Ron Fuller, who's written a book in addition to his other podcasting endeavors and all kinds of things. And it's hard to be in a bad mood today because I didn't watch any fucking All Friends Wrestling this week. So it's hard to be in a bad mood. We're going to have fun today. It's a lighthearted day. And now we're back, ladies and gentlemen. I have a great update. And that's why you should listen to the podcast instead of, listen to the clips on YouTube. Listen to the podcast in its entirety. You'll hear different programming in some cases. The National Pin update. The fine folks at National Pin got me all my pins, all my keychains. Folks, if you're going to JimCornette.com, or if you have in the last week, I guess now, ordered at JimCornette.com, and you ordered enough that I have to put it in a box. Right? Not the bubble mailer for just like a t-shirt or a single book or something. If I gotta put it in a box, the DVD sets, multiple items, you're getting free pins, possibly a free keychain. I'm putting separate things in separate items. Some people, they ordered the Mid-Atlantic DVDs and the Straight Shooting series. They get a couple of pins and a fucking flashlight keychain. I'm going all the way with this, but amazingly enough, right after the show, what was it, 2 weeks ago, or even less, where I had mentioned this story that I'd been sending the orders in and I wasn't hearing nothing and that they'd forsaken me. And I mentioned this within 12 hours after that show aired. I had my contact that the first of my 4 orders that I'd been placed over the last 3 months or so, maybe 4 months, was in transit, and all of them caught up. And a fine young lady named Holly sent me an email making sure that everything was okay and that I got 10% off the total of the combined invoices for the inconvenience of the orders being late, so I appreciated that. And of course, a few members of the cult were brusque with National Pin on Twitter because you, great Brian Last, stirrer of de poopy, happened to, well, they're on Twitter at National Pin. I didn't even ask you to do that. You just brought that up, and some people were brusque with National Pin. Well, now they can be nice to at National Pin. Stuff is here. Cornette's happy. Gave him a great deal. The stuff is being sent out to the fine customers of Cornette's Collectibles. All is right with the world. Another catastrophe that you almost caused, an international incident that you almost caused. Me? Fine Last, by chiming in with their Twitter.
We applied pressure. We got it done. That's how you make things happen.
Well, see, I'm not sure what I'm allowed to talk about on the show anymore without, I hate to rattle poor old Stephen P. New, my beleaguered attorney. He keeps getting these late-night phone calls because Cornette said this on the show. Cornette better take that tweet down. All right.
He's quite busy right now.
I hate Stephen has to stay up late at night, so I try to help him out whenever possible. But anyway, and also Holly at National Pin did say also, we both know that social media has a huge impact on business, particularly in today's culture, and we appreciate your update on Twitter, which I did do, advising your followers that your items were received and that National Pin has rectified the situation. And she closed with, have a great day. So the fine folks at National Pin, once again, their products are being sent out to the Cult of Cornette customers as freebies because of my appreciation. I appreciate National Pin. They appreciate me. I appreciate my customers. It's a world of appreciation, folks. And I want you to know that the orders as of everything, as of Monday morning, what was Monday morning? The 17th of August, this past Monday.
The 17th, yes.
Everything as of Monday morning except 6 orders. We're waiting on our t-shirt restock a couple of days. On those Cornette face shirts, we can't keep in stock, but everything else, international and domestic, as of Monday morning is in the mail to the fine folks. I worked hard over the weekend. As a matter of fact, I'm hearing that people are even getting their priority mail packages in a week or so. Okay, did you see the Postmaster General? You don't worry, you don't have to take this one out again. I'll make it soft. The Postmaster General reverses his standings. Oh, we don't want any thought or hint of impropriety, like people are going to think this is about the election. All the stuff is about the election. So we're not going to make any more change or make these changes until after the election. And of course he lied. He's not only not going to fix all the stuff that they fucked up beforehand, but he's lying about that because they're still taking mail sorting machines out and everything. But I'm doing the best I can do. Everybody support the post office. Get your orders in early. The international folks, it's not up to our post office. That's where the COVID and the customs folks come in. We're still hearing international orders are lagging. But for domestic orders, support the post office. I am, we all are, and get your early voting done. However you do it in whatever state, get it done in person or by mail, but early. Early. As a matter of fact, one of the Delta Cornet listeners out there needs to send us where a person can go. There has to be a website, there has to be a list. Where can a person go to find out how you can early vote, vote by mail, absentee vote, whatever the case may be in every state, so we can pass that information along to the listeners. Somebody out there, because we got a bunch of smart listeners, and they send these long political dissertations, and they're very well written. Now all we need is a link. Where do we go to where everybody in the country can find out how they can vote early and by mail? And then do it quick. That's what we need to do. Will we be inundated with those responses, Brian?
I don't know. I don't know who's going to put the comment in to do all that.
Oh, you goddamn it! I know. I would name several people by name right now, but if I left a few people out, because I know that I won't think of all of them, then they'll be insulted. But I know several people that are going to do this.
You should be careful naming people. You don't want to get, Steven.
I should be careful naming people. Steven gets phone calls when I name people and things that they've said to me in the past that I'm not supposed to talk about. Anyway, boy, poor old Sonia Deville. You've heard about this. Obviously, everybody's read about this at this point. What the fuck? Did you see the picture of this guy?
I did, yeah.
You would walk past this fucking clown on the street and not even notice him. Just a mousy, creepy-looking, nondescript schlub like you would see anywhere. And here he's gone through this whole plot. He showed up. He stalked her. I've stalked on social media. He's bothered her, harassed her, pestered her on social media, I guess, for some time. But he actually goes down there and he's been plotting this, and he shows up at her house with burglary tools and kidnapping tools and what tape and zip ties and the whole goddamn serial killer fucking handbook. This little schlub, when you look at the picture, you would think, well, fuck, Sonya Deville or any WWF girl could fucking handle this fucking guy, but he came prepared, and you know, what the fuck? That's fucking gruesome. That's creepy. And what can they do to this guy? How long can they, because it's not like you get locked up for 6 weeks and decide, well, I'll just never think about this again. Who's going to be keeping an eye on this fucking guy?
I don't know. I mean, I know she got, I believe, an emergency protection order, but that only goes so far. And
well, if you're fucking nuts.
Yeah, no, this guy's clearly nuts and obsessed, because I actually saw his Twitter account, and it was like out of a movie. When you see like one of these weirdo stalkers in a movie, every tweet was about her or retweeting her. It was just a really unhealthy and, at the very least, obsession with her. How long do you get held for this? How long could you go in for?
Not long enough.
And thank God she got away. Thank God. And Mandy Rose apparently was her house guest when this all happened too. Thank God, you know, this guy's plans did not work out, because who knows how depraved this lunatic is. I certainly hope for the very worst for him, but I don't know what's going to happen.
I thought you were going to lead up. I certainly hope he gets some help. No, I certainly hope the very worst for him. Oh, no.
No, I think anyone who does something like this deserves the very worst that society could offer.
Well, I mean, this is even worse than the fucking guy that was at that came to the performance center constantly and was arrested a couple times. Then he ended up getting shot, right? The police had to shoot him or something.
Did he end up shooting the performance center? Am I remembering wrong?
Either he shot the performance center, the cop shot him, so there was shooting going on, but it was more than once, and they got a restraining order. But because these people are mentally incompetent, so restraining order, big whoop, right? Because they've got their own fucking thing going on in their head, how he thought this was a good plan. With or without a restraining order, I don't think that would have had anything to do with it. We're not, I mean, we're laughing at some aspects of this, but not to make light of it. That's fucking creepy. And that just goes to show you how many nuts there are. That it's not like all nuts are wrestling fans. It maybe, wait a minute, maybe it's like that, you know, Americans aren't all stupid, but most stupid people are mad. Maybe all wrestling fans are not nuts, but most nuts are red. I don't know. But when you think about Sonya Deville, she's not even the big star, and I'm not knocking her here. I'm saying she's not marketed as the biggest female wrestling star in the world. She's not as big as the female Lady Gaga, for fuck's sake, or rock stars, or movie stars, or whatever. There are these kind of obscene nutcase people that are fans of, and I've never understood why you're a fan of somebody so you want to kill them. I haven't made that connection yet, or kidnap them, or whatever.
Yeah, I love you. Let me kidnap you. It doesn't make any sense.
But there's people like this. Anybody in public, especially entertainment. I don't think anybody's after the female politicians necessarily like this. But anybody in entertainment or sports in the public eye, they go through this shit. Kurt Angle had a female stalker, did he not? One time, several years ago, David Letterman woke up one night, found some woman in his house, claimed she was his wife, and kept coming back, and was obviously mentally incompetent. You know, that's all the more reason why it's so fucking easy for all these nutcases to get guns in this country, which is where the real fucking problems start. That's another discussion, but it all ties in. A lot of people out there are mentally fucking incompetent and dangerous. And I don't know why more people don't see this, but nevertheless, for the girls it has to be especially problematic, and not even because, like I said, most of these girls kick the shit out of the guys that would give them a problem like that, but that's hand-to-hand, face-to-face, and all things being equal. If somebody's cutting your fucking screen door at, 4 in the morning and breaking in with tools and weapons, that all things aren't equal. So are the girls going to have to, is the company going to have to provide the girls some security? Private security, if they're going to be, putting them on television, enticing these lunatics, should they, pony up for some fucking backup? That's a question. I don't know.
I don't think it's really enticing the lunatics just by having them on TV. There are lunatics who see these things as, I don't know, as weird communications with people. I found information here about the guy that was arrested at the Performance Center, the Performance Center stalker. There's an article from WrestlingNews.co. Andrew Ravens, the author. WWE Performance Center stalker gets arrested again. Armando Alejandro Montalvo, I believe, who is known as the WWE.
If that is indeed his real name, imagine that. Somebody probably heard that and, wait a minute, poor old Estrada stalking the Performance Center? Is he still pissed at us?
Who is known as the WWE stalker at the WWE Performance Center in Orlando, Florida, was once again arrested on the grounds of the training facility. This is from June. The arrest happened Monday night. According to the Orange County jail records, he was booked on one misdemeanor charge of trespassing on property after warning. In fact, Montalvo was live streaming on Facebook when the arrest happened. By watching the stream, he ended up running from deputies after being confronted. This comes after he caused a scene with WWE stars Lacey Evans and Dana Brooke last Monday during the WWE TV tapings. Montalvo was arrested and shot by police officers at the WWE Performance Center in 2015. After various incidents, WWE filed a restraining order against him in 2018 after he cryptically threatened wrestlers and staff on social media. As noted, Montalvo was headed back to court soon in order to continue his civil case with WWE's lawyers. The attorneys are trying to prevent him from stepping foot on their property and harassing talent. I mean, here's a guy who has a long record of doing it. He's been shot by the police while stalking and harassing.
And that didn't stop him.
And he still comes back, they still can't stop him. That's a problem. There needs to be some kind of law preventing these guys. If they're going to constantly stalk and harass and nothing stops you, you need to be put away. Period.
Yeah. Because there's obviously something going. It's not even a personal issue where everybody's of sound mind and sane. They just hate each other and they know each other. And it's you can't. This is so random. The celebrity can't be forced to, watch out for every human being in the world. Somebody, these people have families, any friends, they work anywhere. Does anybody notice that they may not be in possession of their fucking faculties? And this is a new thing also. Think about that. There were, in wrestling traditionally, obviously, the stalkers were women because almost all the talent was guys. And the stalkers, quote unquote, were pissed off rats that felt like that they had been led to believe that things were going too far, or that things were going farther than they were, or that they were, in more of a relationship that they were in. Sometimes they believed that on their own. Sometimes they were led to believe that. But it was more in the variety of them stalking the guys to find out their home number and their home address to call their wife or whatever the fuck, rather than actual physical harm. And that was, fairly common in every territory. But there was never, and obviously the heels had to watch out in the moment. When they got heat, when they started a riot, whatever, in the building, when they were in the middle of the fans, or when there was an incident at a bar or a store where the heat was fresh, you just fucked that guy. Dennis Condrey, a guy fucking sucker punched him in a fucking convenience store right after they'd seen us fuck the Rock and Roll Express out of the fucking Mid-South Tag Team title with the ether. It was that fresh, he just saw it 3 days beforehand, and you motherfucker, boom. But there was never, I can't think, can you, Brian, of any cases where anybody planned and it was carried out or tried to carry out some type of assault or attack or kidnapping or whatever, with premeditated fashion on anybody ever in the wrestling business, any males? That it was all spur of the moment.
Yeah, I can't think of anything. And, this is something, like you said earlier, that happens in the entertainment industry. When I was at Sony Music, I remember it happening to one of the executives because he was interviewed in a magazine, and this woman overseas, I forget what country she was in, saw the interview, became obsessed with him, and decided she was going to marry him. He was married and had kids. I mean, it wasn't like this was anything he was a part of. She started sending just the creepiest packages to the building, 550 Madison, and it got to the point where we had a captain in the New York City Police Department who did work with us, and we went to him with the material, and he got in touch with whatever authorities over there to try to stop her, but she would still send stuff. And that was what happened. If someone was stalking, we would go to our NYPD guys, and then they would contact the local police station. Well, something domestically would be much easier than something overseas, but this happens. I got to imagine it's happened to some of the female talent in the past. I mean, you see people who were major stars for a while, like Sunny or Sable or anyone. You got to think there's some lunatic sending crazy notes to Titan Tower.
Yeah. Oh,
and that's what you do. You go to your police guy, and usually a major company, you have, a captain or something like that you can go to, who does some work on the side for the record label or the wrestling company, and you can say, hey, we have a crazy stalker here, do something about it. And usually they contact the local police station in that person's area, and you try try to scare them usually was the first act. Like, look, you will be prosecuted, you will be arrested. And if that doesn't work, you have to, go to...
Did you see the picture of this pie-faced fuck? I don't think he gives a... He would probably have a better life in jail. Then look at the look on this guy's face and look at the state of this fucking guy to begin with. And obviously he's nuts. And so I don't think a warning of, oh, well, you're going to be prosecuted. If getting shot didn't stop the other guy. But that's, I mean, and yes, like you said, every one of the girls since the 90s has some story of creepy communication or creepy people or just creepy in general. Not to this extent that I remember that, they were actually breaking in the house and the burglary tools and the whole 9 yards, but creepy letters or creepy communication or phone calls or social media or whatever. It just, with the girls, it's usually a creepy guy with some kind of sex thing in mind. When we get the same, we get harassment, it's just not of the same level and it's not as, creepy. But, this just, I've told the story before. It has been a while. I've told you the story of Bobby Eaton's stalker, didn't I?
No, I don't know anything about that.
This was not a dangerous stalker. This was the cutest stalker ever. But see, this was...
Maybe we shouldn't encourage this.
Well, no, it kind of worried Bobby because things, could take a turn with these people. But there was a girl in Wilmington, North Carolina, that became infatuated, have just seen him on television. We were heels, right? And everybody hated us. And she never wrote me, and she never wrote Dennis Condrey. But she wrote to Bobby Eaton, care of the Jim Crockett Promotions office on Briarden Drive in Charlotte, at least 4 to 5 times a week. When I would go in, there'd be the box of mail and then the box of her mail. And she had fallen in love with Bobby Eaton and decided that they were meant to be. And, I mean, she sent the pictures. I'll just say her first name was Pam. The last name she gave sounded like a gimmick name anyway. She appeared to be at least in her 30s from the pictures. And not a sex bot, not a person who tried to be provocative in appearance, just an average, everyday, kind of blasé, bland, 30s type of girl, right? But she was sending these cards where she would draw the hearts and the pictures, and they'd be postcards, there'd be letters, be packages. She sent pictures of her nightstand and her dresser in her bedroom at home that had shrines to Bobby Eaton, who she called her little tater. Her little tater. And in a basket on her dresser was a wicker basket of potatoes, baking potatoes, with little blonde fucking yarn wigs on them. And little fucking, like, this is before the Cabbage Patch dolls, but they looked like, and she had dolls that were made up to look like Bobby Eaton, her little tater. And it was like she cut a picture of Bobby out of the wrestling magazine and cut a picture of her head out of one of her pictures and put them together on the top of married couples' bodies in advertisements. And this went on and on, right, for months, these letters that because we didn't go to Wilmington that often, right? And I think I still have this box of stuff in my office closet. It was too good to ever toss out. But I mean, the pictures of the taters, and she sent taters, and the constant barrage of these communications and these long letters about how happy they'd be together and how much, whatever. And finally, we go to Wilmington. We're booked in Wilmington. And they ran outdoors at Legion Stadium. That's where Flair and them were headed in the plane when they crashed, just short of the Wilmington airport. And we get there, and it's rainy that day. And obviously an outdoor show, rain doesn't mix, so as we get there, it's raining. And they don't know whether it's going to break up or not. And there's like 1,500, 2,000 people out there under the roof of the grandstand, but they're huddled up and waiting to see when this show's going to happen, and it just won't stop raining. But we looked out from the far end of the stadium where the dressing rooms were, and while all the other people are up in the grandstand huddled up under the roof and the coming down. There in the distance, you see this one girl with an umbrella and a dozen roses and wearing this dress, and it's her. And you know she's got the dozen roses for her tater, and she's as close as the public is allowed to be toward the dressing room area, and she's standing there in that rain. And Bobby was scared to go out. He said, if I go out there and say hello to her, she'll come and kill Donna, right? She'll be breaking my house. And we shouldn't laugh under these circumstances, but it was funny at the time. I didn't think she'd resort to murder. She may have choked Donna with her own two hands, but anyway.
Let's not make light.
Let's not make light of anything of that type. But no, he was like, I'm afraid to go out there and be nice to her because, fuck, I've never even met her and she thinks we're going to get married. But you never know about these people. And these people have access to firearms in this country. Just a thought. But we wish Sonya Deville the best. But wait a minute. Who was with Sonya Deville?
Mandy Rose was her house guest, and luckily, I guess, Sonya was tipped off. She looked out her window and saw something.
But wait a minute. Here's what I'm going for. Are they on opposite sides? One's a babyface and one's a heel.
Well, I think people know they were best friends in real life, but then I guess she turned on Mandy Rose during the whole Otis, it's not feud, the whole Otis escapade. I don't know what word is there.
Well, then they need to be fined. If they just like
come on.
Just like the Sheik and Duggan, they got pulled over by the cops. They were out at being together, babyface to heel. They were together in her home. They need to be fined. We got to be consistent here.
Actually, funny enough,
It's okay if they were in their homes together and then nobody found out. But if it becomes public, they must be fined.
Well, as many people know, next week, the next coming drive-through, we're going to review AEW as well as NXT TakeOver, and then next week here on The Experience, we're going to review SummerSlam, where apparently one of the matches is Mandy Rose versus Sonya Deville, hair versus hair.
Oh, come on!
That's what I'm saying.
Oh, come on! What?
Hair versus hair match.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Well, they're both attractive-looking young ladies, so who's going to bite that bullet? I guess that's why they're selling tickets to it. Well, no, they're not selling any tickets. They're not selling any tickets to it. Then what, I'm just going to shave their fucking head?
Well, once again...
I'm all in favor. That's a match you can't call the finish to. And I think it would be a big draw if they could actually sell tickets. They can't even sell pay-per-view because there's no such thing anymore. It's on the network, right? So why the fuck would either one of them want to get their head shaved? Are they just paying a bonus for the hell of it?
I don't know. It still kills me that Triple H didn't do a hair match. He just decided to show up one day with a shaved head.
Oh, that's crazy. But nevertheless, okay, they're wrestling on the big show. They're just in the worldwide news in each other's home. I say fucking, I fire them. Fire them. Fuck it. Fire them.
Oh, stop it. You're being silly now.
No, I'm not.
You're going to fire them?
You're going to fire them, yes.
The only reason we know she was staying in her house, the only reason we know she was staying in her house is because a maniac stalker tried to abduct her.
All right, well, in that case, wait until the sympathies died down and fucking fire them in 6 months like they did with Gallows and Anderson when they fired them when it was convenient. But, gotta be consistent. Fucking shitting on their fucking match right there in their home. Either that, is there a reason why that didn't they escape their house?
They did.
They escaped the house and called the police.
Yes.
Well, then she had time to drop old Mandy Rose off somewhere, and nobody would have known.
You know what? I'm going to disagree with you on this premise. The WWE doesn't take any of their shit seriously. I don't blame the talent for not taking it seriously while working there.
Well, I guess you're right. Bad leadership. All right.
If someone was there, let's say someone was in charge who said, if you're working a program with someone, I don't want you to be seen in public with them. You can't go to a bar with them. You can't have them sleep over your house. Nothing. Then I think there's an argument to be made. However, even with that case, I mean, even in the era of kayfabe, guys would occasionally, I mean, there are stories about Bobo Brazil hanging out at the Sheik's house. But they didn't expect there to be outsiders. They didn't expect Stalker to chase everyone outside.
Yeah, but here's the thing. Don't you remember? That's when we had Dave Brzezinski on. Bobo would eat in one room and Sheik would eat in the other room.
That's true. That's true. But we wouldn't have thought about this if it wasn't
don't
for
fire them.
this lunatic.
Don't fire them because the lunatic stalker. Just fine them.
You can't find them.
I can't find them. They don't work for me. But I'd find them if they worked for me.
If they worked for you and they knew the rule was you can't interact in public with someone you're working with, someone you're in a program with, that's one thing. The WWE treats this all like a big joke. I can't blame them for ignoring their, the other one's best friend. If the WWE's not going to take it seriously, why should they?
All right, I still think that Sonya Deville had time to drop Mandy Rose off the corner down the street somewhere before the cops got there, and we'd be none the wiser.
I don't know if you're thinking about things like that when you're running for your life.
I'm always thinking about the wrestling business.
You're always running for your life.
Well, that was one of the reasons why that it was verboten in the wrestling industry to call the cops on somebody else in the wrestling industry, and it was better to handle it yourself and commit a crime than to call the police, because police ask questions, and questions sometimes need to be answered, and sometimes those would be questions you wouldn't want to answer, so you keep the fucking cops out of things. But in this case, you couldn't.
Well, once again, let me just reiterate, I don't think they should be fired or fined. I don't think they did anything wrong in the current world of WWE. And if they were fired or fined, we may never know who's going to get their head shaved at SummerSlam.
Well, that's true, unless they're hopefully that somebody's going to get their head shaved, because I've been down that road, and I know if you don't shave somebody's head,
I was there.
People are going to get pissed. Well, and then they learned in Memphis when the people actually set fire to the seats. So that didn't work out very good either. And Jerry Jarrett was running back to fucking people. You want to drop your hair? You want to drop your hair? Anyway, I'll tell you one thing. Regardless of whether it's Sonya Deville or Mandy Rose, that's her name, that gets shaved, they're going to want hair again at some point in their life, right? We all do. We want to have hair. And some points in our life, we get started thinking about our hair more often than other times. Because did you know, great Brian Last, 2 out of 3 men will experience some form of male pattern baldness by the time they're 35? And the best way to prevent hair loss is to do something about it while you still have your hair left. So I think Sonya and Mandy should both right now get on Keeps. That's right, Keeps.com offers generic versions of the only 2 FDA-approved hair loss products out there. You may have tried them before, but never this inexpensively. And prevention, ladies and gentlemen, is the key. Keeps treatments typically take 4 to 6 months to see results, so you got to act fast, because the sooner you start using Keeps, the more hair you'll have. And Keeps has more 5-star reviews than any of its competitors. More than 100,000 men trust Keeps for their hair loss prevention medication. And treatments start at just $10 a month. Now, if you're slickered and come on a gold tooth already, folks, this ain't going to help you. If you've lost all your hair, but to prevent your hair loss, to keep your hair right where you wants it, go to Keeps. And right now, for a limited time, you can get your first month for free. Folks, you spend all this time on your hair. You cut it, you wash it, you style it, you keep it looking nice, and all of a sudden, it's bailing on you, it's falling in the sink. Do something about it. Keeps.com/JCE. Month's treatment for free. Keeps, KEEPS.com/JCE. Get your first month of treatment for free and keep some fucking hair on your head. Unlike either poor Sonya or Mandy. But if they start rubbing it in now, maybe it'll make it grow back quicker. I don't think keeps actually makes you keep your hair when you shave it off on purpose.
Imagine if you had them as a sponsor in '94. You could have said, this is what Candido used.
Oh, yeah. Well, you know, that was one of Lawler's most memorable fucking promos when they were doing the summer of '77, the matches with Dundee, right? They worked like, I think, 12 out of 13 weeks in the Mid-South Coliseum, had 3 sellouts. But one of the matches, before they got to Dundee versus Lawler's hair itself, and then Lawler versus Dundee's wife's hair, Lawler had a stooge named Mickey Poole. He was his fill-in manager because he hadn't found anybody after Sam Bassett got killed, and Mickey Poole was his local stooge. So he'd drive him around and whatever, and he used him as the flunky to pass the gimmick and distract the referee and get to be, it was part of Lawler's ring outfit, right, to have somebody at ringside there. And they put Mickey Poole's hair up. And they shaved Mickey Poole's head just slicker than a fucking peeled egg right in the middle of the ring, right? And the next Saturday morning on TV, Mickey Poole comes out in the absolute worst toupee, full head wig that just obviously fake. It looked like it came out of Guy Coffey's closet, right? Just the fakest looking wig. And Lawler cut the promo. He said, I bet you didn't realize it, but Mickey Poole is of Indian descent. His grandmother was an Indian witch woman, and she left him this little bottle of hair restorer, and he rubbed it right on his head, and overnight, all of his hair grew back out. It looks better than he had it before. And all the people are saying, you motherfucker, it's a fucking wig.
Lights settling in.
Anyway, keeps your hair on your head where it belongs. You know, some people said, when I started losing my hair, they said, well, it's in your genes. I said, that's not the problem. I got hair in my genes. It's on the top of my head that I'm worried about. Keeps your hair, folks. All right. What are we talking about? Are you going to the Thunderdome, Brian?
I'm certainly not going to the Thunderdome. I am rather curious if it'll be a good event or a thunder crap. We'll see what happens.
No, I mean, all the publicity, I see what they're trying to do. And I'm not going to shit on it because I haven't seen it. And honestly, it'll probably be very impressive visually. But I see what they're trying to do since they can't have people in the building, make the building itself, you know, kind of an attraction, something to look for or to watch or whatever. And the WWE, they have not only the budget, but also just such talented production people, and they can hire whoever they want. And I'm sure that somebody in the studio, possibly even old Bucky Beaver himself, has really sunk their teeth into this idea, so to speak, to make a big deal out of it, because they want, obviously, the people that work at the studio are concerned more than anything with the look of the television program and of the broadcasts and everything. So if they can do something like this, and now probably they've had this idea in the past, but they could never get the money. Nobody would free the money up because they're, what the fuck, we're doing okay, we don't need to spend all this money. This is not something, that's why they're doing a residency at the Amway Center. This is not something that they can load in and load out for a couple of days worth of tapings. This is a big fucking undertaking. So they may have had this in their back pocket for a while, and now's the time to do it because we've got to save the ratings. We got to, you know, give people something to tune in for in the empty arena era. We've got to, you know, get talk, publicity, whatever. It's going to look great. Their shit always does. As I said, they're professional and they got the money. The question is, what's it going to look like if this thing looks like the coolest goddamn thing since fucking cool things were invented, but they still, you know, creatively with the wrestling are doing goofy shit. If you send goofy half-ass looking shit out in a huge, expensive environment, does it look worse, is what I'm trying to say. Does it look even hokier? And is it good in the long run to build, in the long run after the virus, when people eventually are back in the buildings, etc., to build the atmosphere at the expense of the actual product you're selling, which is the wrestling? You may not be interested in our wrestlers or our matches, but boy, it's in a cool fucking building. Is that good or not? it'll be something that people, if they continue to do it when people are back in the buildings, it'd be something people want to go and sit in that, like you want to go to the planetarium, eat a fucking brownie, whatever, right? But does it make the product any better?
Well, that's the problem. Everyone knows that WWE's product right now is creatively bankrupt. It's a bad product. Unfortunately, it's a bad product in the middle of the pandemic, so it's even worse because there's no fans there. And they're not even addressing that. It's more like, hey, we got a new gimmick. We got a new building we're going to be in with this gimmick. As opposed to, we need to change things up and get Vince the fuck away from creative as fast as we can. No, it's going to still be the same idiots running the same idiot show, except now it's going to be glammed up.
Glammed up. You have completely become me, and I'm just over here laughing and trying to at least give them the opportunity to shit the bed before I ask, who pooped the bed?
What can we do to get people interested again? How about we have some really good creative and we give people a chance to get over? No, something else. How about we get a building like the Amway Center, because we should certainly be aligned with Amway at this point in time.
Or the governor of Florida, even worse than Amway at this point.
Just, I don't know. I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll see and it'll be really, really cool, or it'll just be like, wow, for about 10 seconds, and then it's the same awful content, just in this giant studio, for lack of a better term.
Well, here's the thing. It'll be an awesome atmosphere for awesome matches. If you've got top guys in there, having main event matches, and blah, 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 then yes, the atmosphere is going to be better than just them doing it in the empty building. But is it almost... Some of these matches look better in an empty building than they may look in a fucking really fucking high-class, goddamn expensive building, because then you're thinking, well, all these bells and whistles for fucking Robert Stone versus goddamn, Putz McGee. I don't fucking know.
Putz McGee.
Putz McGee could be. Well, the way they're going with names in NXT, Putz McGee is only 6 months away. And I said, maybe this is going to be a destination type of thing. They get it over, so when the crowds are allowed back in the buildings, people want to come and buy a ticket to sit in this. But then here's the thing: are they still going to do residencies? Because I just realized that after I said it, you can't tour this thing for one nights. You can't just, okay, we're going to do the taping Monday, we're going to be in Pittsburgh, come sit in the Thunderdome. It's going to take days to set this up, and it won't be worth it for fucking one day in Pittsburgh. So, are they still going to do residencies, or are they going to drop the Thunderdome? When they drop the Thunderdome, then the regular buildings, even if they got people in them, are going to look kind of bland, so are they going to try to gimmick up the fucking buildings with the people in them? They've already been doing that for years with the LED boards and the fucking lighting and etc. How much more can they do? Well, they can get more complicated. Then they can't set it up in the same day. They're setting a strange precedent here. They're not going to be able to follow something. At some point, they're doing something here they're not going to be able to follow.
Based on how much money they made so far during the pandemic, and a lot of that comes directly from the idea they're not touring. They're not going, forget about house shows.
Yeah, their profits were way up because they didn't have to pay all those building rents and all those fucking load in and load out costs.
Right. Maybe this is the future. Residencies.
But
it won't be the New York tri-state area because of the union cost, I'll tell you that.
Well, besides that, they were having trouble putting half or two-thirds of a fucking building together for the tapings where they were in the town one night. They're in the town fucking 7 days in a row. And then 14 days, and however. They're in the Amway Center for what they said, 2 months, right? They're obviously not going to tape every night. But you amortize the production costs for such an expensive proposition over the amount of days that you do it, and that's the way it's afforded. When Ring of Honor was working what was the upstairs building, Manhattan Center, over the Hammerstein Ballroom in New York, right? The small building where Raw started. Yeah. One of the reasons why we had to change one of our dates at one point was because, God damn it, it was not America's Got Talent. I think it may have been what was the first show? American Idol. Yeah. American Idol was going to be there for a period of several weeks, and they had loaded in all their equipment in the Hammerstein, and they had the freight elevators tied up, so there was no way to get the ring 7 floors up to the Manhattan Center for that 1,500 seat building up there, because the elevators were schmozzed up with the American Idol shit. That's the way that they operate those big network shows. They load that shit in, they get it the way they want it, and they leave it. They rent the building for a period of at least a few weeks. So point is, I don't know, how do you back up from this? Once you've dropped the cow, what's left? And they're still not addressing the fact that most of these guys look the same, do the same shit, are told to talk the same, act the same, and have same matches with same kind of finishes mostly over and over. And very few people stand out because not only of the bad creative and lack of letting people do things for themselves and the insistence on this fucking contrived, stagey, memorized bullshit, but also because a lot of these guys look like each other and talk like each other and act like each other and don't have any distinct personalities. So to gimmick up the building is going to look impressive as fuck, and they will certainly do it right because they're a big-time company. But are we polishing a turd?
Yes.
Oh no!
I'll answer that in advance. Yes.
Oh yes.
I'm surprised they haven't done or tried to do what Fox has done with baseball. I'm not saying I approve of this, but the Mets had a game on Fox. It's always awful when your team has a game on Fox or ESPN, because then you get their announcers, their commentators, and typically they're awful. You want your own guys who you're with for the entire season. And they had the Fox game, and the other thing Fox did was they superimposed CGI fans in the stands. So when you'd see a home run and you get the wide shot of the building, you see a stadium packed with fans. And then, they go to the close-up and everyone's gone. But I'm surprised WWE hasn't done that, because you could sweeten the noise. You could sweeten the crowd noise.
Well, but wait a minute. I thought this is part of it, right? Because a little bird of mine gave me the list of the terms and conditions of participation in the Thunderdome. Oh, yes. And somewhere, I not only do I have no idea how this shit works, but I'm not interested enough to find out. But some way or another, they are picking people, or people are applying, and they're picking the ones they want to be somehow on the screen or in the audience or whatever the fuck is part of the Thunderdome. So this is going to be kind of all fucking smoke and mirrors and all fucked up, right?
Yeah, and I was talking about fake fans, not real people sitting.
No, they're going to put real people at home. Listen to some of this, right? This is the terms and conditions. If you've been selected to, this is hugely long. This is like a contract. I'm not going to read the whole goddamn thing, but you've been selected to participate in the 2020 World Wrestling Entertainment, hereinafter known as WWE Thunderdome Fan Program. You agree you're over 18 years of age, comply with the following terms and conditions, which are now the next fucking 17,000 words. Every fan is expected to participate and appear on his or her screen throughout the duration of the event. Any extended absence from the screen may result in his or her WWE Thunderdome seat being reassigned. So they're going to take you off and put somebody else in your place of where you weren't even at really to begin with.
Well, there goes the bathroom break.
I was about to say, don't eat dinner beforehand, because you might be able to get away with a piss, but it sounds like a shit will get you dropped. We reserve the right to not allow you to participate or immediately terminate your participation for no reason or for any reason at our sole discretion, including but not limited to if your behavior is inappropriate or violates any of these terms listed below. Okay, wait, the terms. The custom link you have been provided is specific to you, may not share, forward, or otherwise disclose the link to it, so it's a non-disclosure link. I've had experience with those.
Oh, someone get us a link so we
we gotta see how this is gonna work. be permitted to appear or participate. No unauthorized people. You must provide your own device and other necessary equipment. What is the device? Does everybody in their home have a Thunderdome device? Oh, I just got my device from the device store that allows me to be in the Thunderdome.
Device could be computer, it could be iPad, it could be, I'm assuming it could be cell phone. It could be your smartphone, and that camera would be what you have to stare at for the duration of the program, I think, based on what you're saying here.
All right, well, the WWE is not responsible for any loss of or damage to devices or equipment caused by your use of any of the software or other platforms utilized as part of the... What, they got this shit from China and it's going to be virus-ridden. We urge you to limit your internet capabilities to solely the device used for participating in the Thunderdome. No one in your household should be using your internet connection for other streaming purposes, like Twitch, Netflix, YouTube. So basically, just tell fucking grandma and grandpa there, just fucking read a book. They can terminate you if the audio or video connection is unclear or unstable. Your behavior while participating in the Thunderdome must be and must appear to be appropriate and respectful at all times.
So no fucking...
Appropriate for a family-friendly, all-age television audience at all times. Okay, who's gonna be the fucking baseball couple in the skybox that fucks in the 7th inning in front of the window?
Hey, did you work that convention in... If it wasn't Philly, it was outside of Philly. Was it the Ben Salem Bash, where a couple started going at it, you know, in a room overlooking the actual wrestling event?
I must not have been there. But see, if I was out at the ring, I wouldn't have had my glasses on anyway. So I'd have been pissed because I'd hear that I'd missed it. I don't remember that. I have no recollection of that.
Was it in fact you?
No, I was at the ring the whole time. Anyway, you may not smoke or appear to smoke any substance imitating smoking. If you appear to be intoxicated or otherwise under the influence of alcohol, drugs, or other substances, we can terminate or refuse participation. You may not say or do anything during your participation in the Thunderdome, whether or not you're appearing on the broadcast at the time, that in the sole discretion of WWE constitutes a political statement or endorsement, is or could reasonably be considered offensive, obscene, discriminatory, or distasteful, including, without limitation, this looks like some of McDivitt's work, making or appearing to make any obscene or lewd gestures, or saying or appearing to say any obscene or lewd words or statements, including, without limitation, cursing. If you are violent in any way, disparage or reflect adversely the WWE or its athlete sponsors or affiliates, they do a good enough job of that themselves, promotes, infringes, or violates the rights of any third party, or promotes the brand of any third party. Your attire must be appropriate and must remain on at all times. Well, I'm used to going to these live events where once you go into the building dressed, you can fucking strip down buck naked if you want to. I would have never have thought I should keep my clothes on at all times in the show. If you're not appropriately attired, you're done. Immoral graphics, images, text, political statements, slogans, logos, images, graphics, commercial identification of third parties, officially licensed. Well, you're fucking done. Don't do any of that. Wear a goddamn plain white shirt and a fucking pair of baggy pants.
I'd be afraid to move.
The environment and background you're in must also be appropriate. It may not depict logos, graphics, images, other commercial identifications of non-WWE parties, including, without limitation, signs or product placements, immoral graphics, images or text, political statements, slogans, logos, images, texts or graphics. You're done.
What's an immoral graphic?
Well, fuck you. By participating in the Thunderdome and putting your name below, you for 7,000 words, you give them the right to use your likeness forever, to not have any complaint in anything that they ever do to you, give up your firstborn child. Vince McMahon will come and sodomize your Cocker Spaniel in the front yard. And if you choose to allow a minor to appear in the Thunderdome, you're certifying that you're the parent or legal guardian of that minor and agreeing to these terms on behalf of the minor. So if little Johnny Dumbfuck, 5 years old, flips the finger, you're going to jail, motherfucker. By participating in the Thunderdome, you assume all risks incident to participation while you're sitting there in front of a plain white wall wearing a plain white shirt and plain baggy pants, and a fucking picture falls off the wall and hits you over the head and gives you brain damage. It's not their fault. You also agree to indemnify and hold harmless the WWE, its licensees, successors, and assigns, parent corporations, subsidiaries, affiliates, and its and their respective officers, directors, shareholders, employees, advisors, insurers, representatives, advertisers, and broadcasters from any and all actions, suits, fines, penalties, and claims brought by anyone, including, without limitation, fines imposed by governmental agencies. As a result of your behavior, attire, statements, actions, or environment during your participation in the Thunderdome. This sounds like the safest, most sanitized Thunderdome. The boy that lived in the fucking bubble had it rougher than these people could possibly. There can be no danger. Oh, and you will also reimburse all such parties for any costs and expenses, including without limitation attorney's fees incurred in defending such actions. So if you fuck up in any way, they're gonna sue you.
Well, I can't wait. What a great publicity campaign that'll be. Wrestling fans sued by WWE for immoral behavior in the Thunderdome.
It doesn't sound like anything's allowed in the Thunderdome. Local law obligations. I've never heard that phrase even in a local law obligations may restrict the ability of WWE to limit its and other persons' liability to you and to impose liability on you to them. If you are resident outside of the United States, sections 10 and 11 only apply to the extent permitted by local law obligations. And if local law obligations do not allow such provisions in certain circumstances, then they will not apply in those circumstances. Well, that makes sense. Outside of the United States, WWE acknowledges that there are certain I could read this all day. Mandatory local rights and laws, including without limitation in respect of unfair consumer terms, which may not be excluded, restricted, or modified, or may only be limited to a certain extent, parentheses, local law obligations. Nothing in these terms excludes, restricts, or modifies the local law obligations, except as permitted by such laws. And in capital letters down at the bottom, and I haven't even read all of it, folks.
This is ridiculous.
Violation or non-compliance with any of these terms, as determined in our sole discretion, will result in immediate removal from and termination of your participation in WWE Thunderdome and may result in additional penalties.
Fuck you.
I don't know what...
Well, get me out of your Thunderdome, that's fine. What penalties? Because you've decided that I don't behave well enough in the Thunderdome.
I'm telling you, this is a big risk, and I'm not prepared to take. I'm gonna just sit at home and read a book rather than being in the Thunderdome. It sounds dangerous, not to the wrestlers, but to the fans.
We're about 6 weeks away from AEW introducing the Lightning Shack.
The Lightning Shack. The Lightning Shack. Wait a minute. We should do a match named Lightning Shack, and they should play the
Hard to
Lightning
stay
Shack.
dry in this.
Rocky Ramone. It's the Lightning Shack, baby.
I hate that song.
I hate that song.
I hate that show. I think B-52 is just fine.
Say it a little louder.
That song sucks. I'll say that a little louder. Hey, let me ask you, when you were a kid, 12-year-old Jimmy Cornette,
Yes.
loving wrestling,
Yes.
if you told your mom you wanted to participate in the Thunderdome and showed her this document, what would she say?
She wouldn't have got past the first fucking whereas and heretofore before she said, Jimmy, you're not doing anything about this. Oh, no. Everybody's going to want to get on TV just to be a wise ass anyway. I don't know how they're going to fucking, mediate all of this behavior and everything anyway. Somebody's going to Baba Booey them. But what the fuck? That sounds like a barrel of fun for me to participate in. For heaven's sake. You know what? The only thing... Go ahead.
Someone's going to slip an AEW t-shirt on and get that on there, and they're gonna flip out.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. I can see that coming. Or somebody's gonna smoke something or remove their unlicensed attire or whatever. The only thing that it didn't say was if you're in the Thunderdome and one of the wrestlers knocks you down, you can't sue.
You think you're allowed to eat popcorn? I mean, if you're seen on the Thunderdome camera on your Thunderdome device using exclusive Thunderdome technology that you're not allowed to sue for to destroy all of your Thunderdome devices. Can you eat popcorn? Can you have a snack like you're actually in the arena?
I would think you would be able to do everything that you would be able to do in the arena. So, because you're in a fucking arena.
What do they want? Do they just want people to sit there?
So, but now and that's the thing now is they've got to make it so that one of the fans, one of the guys takes a bump out of the ring, the other guy goes to do the dive, every match, and the guy